This is a 190 Q&A practice test. Plaintiff attorney Mr. Galt, capital G-A-L-T. Defense attorney Mr. Lopez, capital L-O-P-E-Z. We'll start with plaintiff attorney. Ready? Here we go. What kind of agents, if that's a fair question, arson investigators or former arson investigators? Why would you send an arson investigator to an area like this? Because it's a burn area and they were trained in fires and burns, and they deal with many times finding bodies in burned buildings or whatever. They are trained in that area. Was it your understanding that the crime lab, with the help of these arson investigators, began to process the scene that day? Yes. By the way, Agent Newton, were you called to look at that burn area that Tuesday? I believe so, but I just don't recall. You had other things going on that day as well? Yes. Other than those 3 major discoveries, anything else occur on site that day that you can recall? I believe that evening before the crime lab left, we asked them to go back into Mike Rawls' trailer and Chuck Rawls' trailer and do some luminol testing involving a chemical that can illuminate the presence of blood, amongst other compounds or chemicals, but they usually use that for determining if there was any blood in that area, blood that may not be visible to the naked eye. So we have them do that next night. Now, Agent Newton, the next several days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and even into Saturday, did you and other law enforcement agents have control of the Rawls salvage yard? Yes, sir, and I know that we are going to hear from each of the individual officers, but if you could just tell us generally what happened for the balance of the week, what kinds of other investigating efforts were made for those last 3 days. Crime Lab was there Tuesday and I believe Wednesday, and their primary duties that they were doing was just reviewing. I know they were at the Larson County Sheriff's Department processing the barrels and stuff like that. On Wednesday, we got search warrants for fingerprints and DNA from the adult members that were just working with the Rawls salvage yard, or residents, the Rawls family pretty much, or the members who worked on that salvage yard, did interviews of those individuals or attempted to. We had, I think, one small evidence collection team or evidence techs that were doing follow-up stuff that needed to be done that day. For example, we knew that there was a garage door opener in Jill's car, and then they found a tool that was like an emergency roadside tool. We learned that, and we were looking to see if we could find that anywhere, to see whether that was taken from the scene or it was actually Jill's property, things like that. So some people went back into the buildings and then did some searching that day. When was it that the property was turned back over to the Rawls family? Saturday morning, the 12th. Yes, May 12th. Now, although we're going to hear from crime lab experts, I think you said that each day more findings were made. Is that fair? That's right. And with those new findings, more interviews and further investigation was done. Yes. Now, other than this site, the rest of the week, could you tell the jury just briefly what kind of things were happening off-site? We would continue to do interviews off-site. We did records exams. Record exams can consist of the business records of the Rawls salvage yard and can go to financial records, can go to phone toll records that have been subpoenaed, that type of stuff that had to be analyzed. Neighborhood canvasses, again, were ongoing. We tried to do traffic surveys, which are identifying vehicular traffic or people who commonly go through that area to see if they might have seen anything, activities such as that. Judge, although I'm about done, I do have 1 or 2 more areas of inquiry. I don't know if the court wants to take our afternoon break at this time. All right, it's just about noon, so we'll take our lunch break at this time and resume at 1:15. Members of the jury, I will remind you again not to discuss this case over the lunch hour. We'll see you after lunch. You may be seated. Counsel, is there anything else to take up outside the presence of jury before we resume after lunch? No. Yes, there is, Judge. I have a few things I need to make a record on. First of all, we have a request out from the prosecution to the prosecution for discovery for a long time and had no response as to any citizen complaints, fire and police commission complaints, anything that regarding Agent Link and Sergeant Cole and that has not been complied with yet. Further, we have received some information from what appears to be a reliable source that one or more of these burn barrels were lost at some point while in custody. That is, the chain of custody may have a break in it, and that they were found, I believe, at the State Patrol custody rather than Larson or DCI or whatever. We received nothing like that in our discovery. I don't know if there's any such evidence. I would ask that the state comply with the discovery and turn that over immediately, Mr. Gault. Other than the defense having received all of our evidence logs, we can certainly make some more directed inquiries that they have everything that we have, at least that I'm aware of, regarding the issue of the citizen or other personnel records kinds of complaints. There's something I'm sure that will need a more extended hearing on, and something that we're not prepared to discuss at this time. Of course, since those witnesses aren't testifying now, it doesn't become ripe yet, but I would suggest the court set aside at least some period of time between now and when those witnesses testify to address those personnel records issues, which I assume counsel understands what's necessary to secure those items. But regarding the chain of custody, not only can that be addressed by cross-examination, but I think we have complied, as he has been noted throughout this case with discovery, that the defense has things perhaps that they don't even know they have. But that notwithstanding, Judge will make sure once again that everything has been turned over, and if there's a further problem, we can alert or address the court at that time. All right, I will ask the attorneys to discuss this matter further. If there is still an area of disagreement that requires a hearing, let the court know and I will schedule it. All right, thank you, Mr. Gault. At this time, you may resume your direct examination of the witness. Thank you, Your Honor. Agent Newton, we left out talking about the last 3 or 4 days of the search, bringing us to the 12th of May. On the 12th of May, how was this scene returned to the Rawls family? I met with Chuck Rawls, and I believe Lori Webb was also present, and it was turned over to Chuck. Between the 5th and the 12th of May, had you received requests from Rawls family members to retrieve some personal items within the salvage yard and the homes? Yes, we had quite a few requests and even contacts with the Rawls family members. They had pets or animals on the scene, medicine, I believe, mail on one occasion, where we had Lori Webb come in and get some mail. We were dealing, Agent Wynn and myself, with a lot. Were attempts made, when at all practical, to meet those needs, whether for business or personal reasons? Yes, I understand that we have their homes, their businesses, for a week, and I understand that it is an extreme hardship. I have empathy for that. When we go to these scenes, we try to process them as quickly as possible because of that. The last area of inquiry, Agent Newton, you mentioned limiting access to the scene itself from the outside, that is, from citizens, or at least knowing who was on the property. Did you testify about that? Did I? Yes. Was there a method created to ensure that you could keep track of that kind of information? Yes, logs were created on crime scenes such as this to record officers, law enforcement personnel, or whoever else, whether it be a coroner or whoever that comes into the scene. In fact, when I got there on Saturday, I got down by the car crusher, that staging area down there, at about 2:25, I think it was, and the officers that were staged there, I told them I recommended that they start a log there also. Was that done to your knowledge? I believe so. And do you know about what time a log was started for entry onto the Rawls property? I'm not sure. About what time is it that you arrived? About 2. All right. The word list. We have Agent Newton, capital A on agent, capital Newton. Agent Newton. Mike Rawls, capital Mike, new word, capital Ralls. Chuck Rawls, capital Chuck, new word, capital Ralls. Larson County, capital Larson, capital C on county. Jill, capital Jill. Agent Link, capital A on agent. Link is capital Lenk. Link, capital Lenk. Sergeant Cole, capital S on sergeant, capital C-O-L-E. DCI is all caps, no periods, no spaces, DCI. Agent Win, capital A on agent, Win, capital W-I-N-N. Lori Webb, capital L-O-R-I, new word, capital W-E-B-B. And that is it for the word list, and that will conclude our 190 Q&A practice test.